The twin sons of Caldrus scorched the barren plain just outside the outskirts of the forgotten colony of Marrowdeep. Once a thriving trade stop between sectors, now it was little more than a graveyard of sand-scoured buildings and rusting cargo haulers. Captain Ronan Vell tightened the strap on his sun-bleached chest rig and adjusted the tactical hood over his head as he trudged past the remnants of a collapsed comms tower. The heat shimmered off the cracked asphalt road beneath his boots, warping the horizon into a mirage of motion. His mission was straightforward: survey the old mining station on the ridge for remaining power cells. The Terran Restoration Corps had eyes on the area, hoping to scavenge and restore any valuable tech before pirate clans did. Standard recon protocol. In and out. No contact. Ronan's combat armor had seen better days. Deep slashes and plasma scoring along his left pauldron told stories of battles most people tried to forget. Still, he moved with a kind of easy strength honed from years of frontline service. Beneath the layers of armor and grit, there remained something human. Something that hadn't yet burned away under duty and sun. Then he saw it. A flicker of movement just past the rusted remains of a loader unit. Too small to be a predator drone. He crouched instantly, hand going to the sidearm holstered at his thigh. Through the cracked lens of his visor, he scanned the shadowed alley between two storage modules. At first he thought it was a child. But as he crept closer, the form came into clearer view. It was a woman, an alien woman. Her skin, a smooth ochre tone, shimmered faintly even under layers of dirt and bruises. Slumped in an ancient, broken-down exochair, her frame was alarmingly thin, her arms marked with old injuries. Her clothing, a torn flight shirt and cargo shorts, hung loosely off her, and her legs appeared fused to the rusted seat as if she'd been in it for years. When she noticed him, her eyes widened. They were unlike any Ronan had ever seen, silver irises ringed with cyan. Eyes that looked far too calm for someone moments from death. "Stay back," she rasped in near-perfect trade common, though her accent twisted each syllable into something melodic and haunting. "I'm not here to hurt you," Ronan replied, slowly holstering his weapon and raising both hands. "Name's Ronan. Captain with the TRC. You don't look like you belong out here alone." "I don't belong anywhere," she murmured. "Not anymore." Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with weariness. Ronan's gaze drifted to the chair, noticing wires fused to her lower spine, corroded and sparking faintly. His gut twisted. "What happened to you?" he asked, kneeling in front of her. "Exodro collapse," she said flatly. "Spinal breach. I was left. You were abandoned." She didn't answer. Ronan looked into her eyes again and saw something far worse than pain. He saw acceptance. She'd resigned herself to die out here. Forgotten. "Not today," he muttered. "What's your name?" She hesitated before answering. "Zara." "All right, Zara," he said, slipping behind the chair and gripping its warped handles. "You're coming with me." The wheels of Zara's exochair screeched in protest as Ronan pushed it across the cracked concrete and loose sand. Every few meters, one of the rusted stabilizers caught a rock or dipped into a hole, forcing him to brace the chair with one arm while navigating the terrain. The damn thing was more scrap metal than mobility aid, but it was all she had, and until he could do better, he wasn't about to leave it behind. Zara barely spoke as they moved, but her eyes never stopped moving. Watching. Tracking. Scanning every alley, every rooftop, every shadow. Ronan knew the look. She'd lived in fear for a long time. Long enough that she didn't relax even under his protection. "You're not from around here, are you?" Ronan asked after a long silence, hoping to spark something, anything, that would help keep her alert through the heat and motion. "I was born on Dre-this," she said finally. "Second moon of Liva Prime. My people used to run the trade convoys through Culver space before the embargo. Then the collapse came. Our convoys were raided. Our leaders imprisoned. Those who survived scattered. I ended up here, working in the mines." Ronan didn't reply at first. He'd heard versions of that story before, dozens of them. Each one uniquely cruel. And when the accident happened? He pressed gently. I stopped being useful, she answered. So they stopped seeing me. That hit him in the gut. He tightened his grip on the chair's handles. Screw them. Zara looked over her shoulder. What does your kind get from rescuing broken things? He stopped walking and leaned down so she could see his face through the visor. We don't leave people behind. Broken or not. They reached the outskirts of the TRC outpost just after sunset. The sky over Cauldres burned with purple and orange hues, casting long shadows over the sand-swept buildings. Ronan's quarters were located on the outer edge of the main complex, away from the usual patrol routes, perfect for secrecy. He guided Zara through the door, helping her inside and setting her chair near the only window in the room. The space was simple: bunk, rations locker, sink, and an old medkit stashed beneath a folding desk. He dropped his gear and moved to it immediately. This place is quiet, Zara said softly, her silver eyes scanning the ceiling. Like no one knows it exists. That's why I brought you here, Ronan said as he pulled out antiseptic and gauze. It's the only place I can keep you safe until I figure out the next move. She winced as he began tending to the cuts on her arms. They'll come looking. My people. You think they care that much now? He asked before he could stop himself. She didn't answer, but the way she looked away said enough. He finished dressing her wounds and took a step back. You'll stay here tonight. Tomorrow, I'll reach out to someone who might be able to help. A friend at the Central Med Bay. Quiet, reliable, and brilliant. If there's a way to help your spine, he'll know it. Zara's gaze lingered on him a long moment. You'd risk your post for me? Ronan crossed his arms. I've risked a hell of a lot more for people who mattered a lot less. For the first time, she smiled, faint, almost hesitant, but real. I don't understand you, she said. That makes two of us, he replied, then added with a quiet chuckle. But I think we've got time to figure it out. She said nothing more, but her fingers brushed lightly against his hand as he turned away, a fleeting contact, yet it sent a curious warmth through him. He didn't know what she'd been before the accident, or what she could become after. But one thing was clear. She wasn't broken. And he wasn't leaving her behind. The outpost settled into its nighttime hum, quiet except for the occasional drone patrol whirring across the upper level or the distant hiss of coolant lines venting steam. Ronan sat on the edge of his bunk, shoulders bare, head bowed over the encrypted comm unit in his lap. He'd rerouted the signal through 3 relay points, standard protocol when contacting someone outside the chain of command. His thumb hovered over the call button for longer than necessary. Then he pressed it. A few seconds passed before a familiar voice came through, distorted slightly by static. Ronan Vell. You're either dead or doing something insane. Again. Ronan allowed himself a small smile. Good to hear you too, Dr. Aaron Kale. The voice sharpened. What is it this time? Another exoparasite? Illegal artifact? Or did you finally shoot the wrong diplomat? None of the above. I need a favor. Quiet one. That's what you said last time before smuggling a Glavari hatchling through customs. This is different. Ronan took a breath. I found someone. Injured. Paralyzed. Alien. There was a pause. Species? Cauldron variant. Humanoid. Spinal breach from a mine collapse. She's fused into a broken exo-chair and hasn't had real medical care in months. I need to know if there's a chance. Dr. Kale's tone changed, growing serious. Bring her to the med bay. Quiet entrance. Sub-level 3. I'll prep the scanner. And Ronan. Yeah? If you're bringing her, you already believe there is a chance. That's enough for me. The line went dead. Ronan stood and turned to find Zara still awake, seated by the window. The moonlight filtered across her ochre skin, illuminating the faint shimmer that seemed to pulse just beneath the surface. You heard all that, he said. I did. He knelt beside her, their eyes meeting in the low light. We go tonight. Less security. Less questions. Zara nodded slowly. Do you trust this man? With my life. He saved it twice. Maybe 3 times. And he'll help me? If it's possible, Ronan said. He'll find a way. He fetched a thermal cloak from the supply rack and wrapped it carefully around her shoulders. You'll need this. Nights here are colder than most people realize. As he adjusted the fabric, her fingers grazed his wrist again, deliberately this time. I wasn't sure this morning if I wanted to wake up again, she whispered. But I'm glad I did. Ronan didn't reply with words. He just squeezed her hand once, firm, certain, and retrieved his sidearm. By midnight they were moving. He carried her this time. The chair was too noisy, too slow, and too conspicuous. Despite her protests, she let herself rest against his chest, her head tucked under his chin, her arms light around his shoulders. This feels strange, she murmured. Uncomfortable? No. The opposite. They slipped past the checkpoint near the water tanks and made for the underground maintenance shaft that led into the sublevels of the medical dome. When they reached the entrance, Ronan tapped twice on the security panel. It slid open with a quiet hiss, revealing a short man in a lab coat and tactical boots, his hair graying at the edges but his eyes sharp as ever. Dr. Kale, Ronan said. Captain Vell, Kale replied, his gaze shifting to Zara. And you must be the miracle I've been warned about. I'm Zara, she said, her voice quiet but steady. Let's see what we can do for you, Zara, the doctor replied, stepping aside. And welcome to the underworld. The medical sublevel smelled of sterilized plastic, cooling fluid, and ozone. Dim lights illuminated the long, narrow hall lined with outdated equipment, most of it salvaged and repurposed by Dr. Kale himself. Ronan carried Zara past empty diagnostic beds and flickering wall displays until they reached an enclosed chamber lined with scanning panels and neural interface modules. Put her here, Kale said, pulling the sheets back from the primary diagnostic bed. I've already calibrated the sensor array to account for common cauldron physiology. Ronan gently laid Zara down. She winced as her legs shifted, and Kale moved quickly, adjusting her position with the skill of someone who had worked with hundreds of alien anatomies. I'll need to run a full spinal series and neuroconductivity scan, Kale said, activating the console beside the bed. It'll take a few minutes. Zara turned her head toward Ronan. This place is quieter than I expected. That's because the chief medic above ground is an idiot, Kale interjected without looking up. Nobody bothers coming down here unless they're desperate or dying. Fortunately for you, I specialize in both. Zara actually let out a soft chuckle. Ronan stood beside her, arms crossed, eyes on the screen as Kale began the scan. The chamber filled with a low hum, soft pulses of light sweeping along Zara's body. A projection of her spine appeared in the air above them, fractured vertebrae, deteriorated nerve connections, and clusters of scar tissue interwoven with strands of old machinery. The damage was severe. Even Ronan, with his limited medical knowledge, could tell. Kale didn't speak for several long minutes. Then he leaned back with a heavy breath and crossed his arms. Well, he said at last, you weren't wrong about the injury. Her spinal cord's mostly intact, but the scar tissue and residual implant damage are compressing the neural passageways. That's why she's not getting full feedback or motor control. Can it be repaired? Ronan asked. With enough time and care? Yes, Kale replied. I can initiate a regeneration sequence using xenogenic stem therapy and calibrated neuroelectrical pulses. It'll take weeks of treatment, but there's a chance. A real one. Zara's voice was barely above a whisper. You're sure? I don't gamble when it comes to patients, Kale said. But you should be prepared. This isn't a miracle fix. There'll be pain, setbacks, possible rejection symptoms. I've felt pain, Zara murmured. I can handle more if it means walking again. Kale nodded, impressed. I'll need to begin with stabilizers to control inflammation. You'll feel tingling and heat near your lower back. That's normal. It means your nerves are responding. Ronan stepped forward. Anything I need to do? Keep her calm, Keep her company. And if anyone knocks on that door upstairs, stall them. He prepared the injection, the fluid inside a dull amber color that shimmered faintly under the medbay light. Zara gritted her teeth as it entered her bloodstream, her fingers clenching the sides of the bed. Breathe through it, Ronan said, placing a hand on her arm. Zara blinked up at him. Still think I'm not broken? He looked down at her and said, You're not broken. You're surviving. That's different. A silence fell between them, but it wasn't awkward. It was weighted with something else. Something deeper. Unspoken. Cale adjusted the scanner, satisfied with the early readings. We'll monitor overnight. If the regeneration pathways respond properly, we'll begin physical stimulation cycles tomorrow. You'll need to stay here for the next few days, hidden. Then we'll stay, Ronan said without hesitation. Zara exhaled, settling back against the bed. For the first time since he found her in the ruins, her body seemed to relax, even as the nerves under her skin began to awaken. Outside, Caldress slept under its twin moons. But in this quiet underground lab, something long dormant had begun to stir. Hope. The following morning, pale light filtered through the ventilation grates above the med bay, casting faint patterns across the floor. Ronan dozed in a chair beside Zara's bed, his arms folded, one boot resting on a tipped-over supply crate. He hadn't slept much. The low hum of monitors and occasional hisses from the stim injectors kept pulling him back from dreams he no longer trusted. Zara stirred before he did. At first, it was a twitch, barely noticeable, beneath her right leg. Then another. Her eyes snapped open, silver irises darting down to the source. Movement. Her toes curled slightly, then flexed. The sensation was foreign. Electric. Overwhelming. Ronan! Her voice cracked as her hand reached toward him. He was on his feet before she could say another word. What is it? He asked quickly, kneeling beside her. Pain? Numbness? I can feel my leg, she breathed. Not just heat or tingling, actual feeling. Cale appeared in the doorway, a coffee bulb in one hand, his eyes narrowing. Describe the sensation. Zara shook her head, tears welling. Pressure. Movement. It's like something's waking up inside me. The doctor moved swiftly to her side, running a scan. The projected readout shimmered in the air once again, now showing active pulses of neural activity where there had been silence only hours earlier. Hot damn, Cale muttered. Your system's responding faster than I expected. The regeneration's accelerating. Zara looked at Ronan, breath catching in her throat. Is that good? It's better than good, Cale said. It's remarkable. But as quickly as the celebration began, his expression turned serious. We'll need to start physical interaction therapy now, controlled stimuli, assisted motion. We'll also need to keep her body from overcompensating. If the regeneration outruns the stabilization injections. Ronan stood tall. What do you need me to do? Cale tossed him a pair of sensor gloves and a roll of support strapping. Support her as we guide her through leg motion. She'll need to learn how to walk again from the ground up. Muscles, nerves, balance. It's not just about feeling, it's about control. Zara nodded. I want this. I can do it. And she did. Over the next hour, with Ronan guiding her and Cale watching every response, Zara moved one leg then the other. Her body trembled with each motion, sweat clinging to her forehead, but she didn't stop. When her legs gave out, Ronan caught her. When the pain made her cry out, he steadied her. His hands, capable of so much destruction, became her support beams. You're doing better than most of my patients, Cale noted between observations. Because I have someone to lean on, Zara said, her voice hoarse but unwavering, eyes fixed on Ronan. Ronan met her gaze, the bond between them deepening like a tide rising too fast to hold back. Rest now, Cale finally said. Your nerves need to recover before the next session. As Zara settled back into the bed, her hand reached for Ronan's and didn't let go. He sat beside her in silence, their fingers interlocked. I don't understand what's happening between us, she whispered. Neither do I, he admitted. But it feels like. I've been waiting for this, she said. So have I, he replied quietly. And in the hum of machines, in the dim light of the med bay, something ancient and powerful began to bloom. The days that followed blurred into a rhythm of quiet urgency. Zara's progress was extraordinary, beyond even Dr. Kale's cautious optimism. Each morning brought new sensation, new movement, and new signs of accelerated recovery. But with every victory came greater risk. The more her body adapted, the more the regeneration surged, threatening to overwhelm her system if not precisely managed. Kale modified the stabilizer injections, tailoring the chemical balance to keep her progress from spiraling out of control. But the real work came between treatments, when Zara pushed herself past exhaustion to walk, to stand, to regain what had been stolen. And Ronan was there for every step. In the quiet hours of the evening, when the stim arrays were off and the lights dimmed low, Zara sat on the edge of her cot, legs dangling, her feet flexing slowly against the cold floor. Ronan stood near the far wall, stripping down the components of his sidearm in practice motions. You never asked why I was left behind, she said. Ronan glanced up. Didn't seem like you wanted to talk about it. I didn't, she admitted. But I think you should know. I wasn't just a worker in the mines. My family, my bloodline, it carries a rare genetic marker. He stopped moving. What kind of marker? A dormant biological trait. In some, it activates under extreme stress or trauma. They call it the Shiver Ascension. Her gaze dropped to the glowing traceries now faintly visible beneath her skin. Only one in several thousand ever manifests it. And only if pushed to the edge. Ronan moved to her side, crouching so they were level. They hurt you to trigger it. She nodded. When I was injured in the collapse, they thought it would either kill me, or awaken something. They didn't care which. When it didn't happen immediately, they deemed me a failure. A burden. And abandoned me in the wastelands. Ronan's hands clenched into fists. You were used. Like a science experiment. Yes, she said simply. And now, something is changing. My body is reacting, adapting. I feel it. And what does it mean? I don't know yet. But I'm afraid others will. He sat beside her, close enough to feel the heat from her skin, the subtle pulse of light beneath her flesh. Let them come, he said. Whatever this is, whatever they want, it's yours. Not theirs. Zara turned toward him, her silver eyes shimmering. You speak like someone who's made peace with never going back. Maybe I have. There was a long pause, a silence rich with meaning. Do humans always bond so quickly? She asked with a small, curious smile. No, Ronan said, voice low. But we know when something matters. Her fingers brushed his. The contact, so small, ignited something far deeper. He felt it instantly, a spark behind his eyes, a ripple down his spine. She gasped softly. You felt that too, she said, stunned. Yeah, he murmured. What was it? Biological resonance, she whispered. Our nervous systems are syncing. Is that part of the ascension? I think it's the beginning. Her glow brightened, tracing a slow pattern up her arm and across her collarbone. The light pulsed where their skin touched, creating a shared warmth neither could explain. It wasn't lust. It wasn't even attraction in the conventional sense. It was connection, pure, raw, and utterly alien. Zara leaned forward, her forehead resting gently against Ronan's. You're changing too, she whispered. I can feel it, he said. But I don't care what it means. I'm not letting you face it alone. Their breath mingled in the quiet between them, and for the first time since her fall into darkness, Zara smiled with hope that felt real. Beyond the sealed doors of the med bay, danger was stirring. But in that moment, between two beings from separate worlds, something new had begun to bloom. Not just healing. Transformation. The calm did not last. 3 days after Zara's first steps, Ronan noticed the first sign that something was wrong. It came in the form of silence, too perfect, too complete. The usual ambient hum of the upper outpost systems, the thrum of shield generators, even the chatter of service drones, gone. He stood in the corridor outside Kale's med bay, brow furrowed, his hand resting on the grip of his sidearm. "Kale," he said quietly over the comm. "You picking up anything?" The doctor's voice came back, tight. "Something's off. I'm not getting my usual feeds from the comm tower. Try accessing the security uplink." Ronan moved to the wall panel and keyed in a restricted command string. Static. Then, only for a moment, an image flickered through, two black-clad figures moving through the upper corridors with fluid precision. Not soldiers. Not TRC. Operatives. "Damn it," Ronan muttered, slamming the panel shut. "We've got company. Non-authorized. Stealth unit, likely from Zara's people." Inside the med bay, Zara was practicing her balance exercises when Ronan burst through the door. "We're compromised," he said without preamble. Zara stopped mid-step, wobbling before he caught her. "They're here already?" "They're looking for something. Maybe not us directly, but if they find you, this place becomes a tomb." Kale joined them, clutching a portable scanner and a small case. "We can't stay here. If they find out what's happening to her, they'll take her," Ronan said grimly. "Not take," Zara corrected. "Reclaim." "What does that mean?" She swallowed hard. "Anyone showing signs of ascension is considered property of the genetic sanctum. They don't ask. They don't explain. They just disappear you." "No," Ronan said. "That's not happening. We've got maybe 10 minutes before they sweep this level," Kale said. "There's an old filtration duct I used to sneak supplies through before I got legit clearance. It leads out near the ridge overlook. You'll need to move fast." Zara's hands trembled slightly as she pulled on the thermal wrap Ronan passed her. "I can walk," she said. "Don't carry me." He nodded once, no argument in his eyes. Kale keyed open the access panel in the wall. Behind it, a narrow crawl space gaped open, dusty and lined with old tubing and coolant lines. "You'll need to go single file," Kale said. "It's tight." Ronan helped Zara into the shaft first, his body following close behind. As he glanced back, Kale held out a sealed injector. "Her next stabilizer. If the regeneration spikes again, she'll need it." "Don't wait." Ronan nodded. "You've done more than enough." Kale smirked faintly. "Try not to get killed. I'll buy you some time." Then the panel sealed shut behind them, leaving only the sound of their breath and the soft scrape of their limbs through the vent. They crawled in silence, the shaft barely wide enough for Ronan's broad shoulders. Zara moved ahead with surprising control, her movements cautious but no longer desperate. She was regaining strength. And just in time. Behind them, a muffled explosion rocked the base. Dust fell from the top of the shaft. "They found him," Zara whispered. "Then we move faster." Minutes later, they emerged into the cool evening air atop the ridge. The twin suns had dipped low, and the first stars were beginning to prick the indigo sky. Below them, a long abandoned mining shuttle rested in a hidden crater, half buried but still intact. "That's our ride," Ronan said. "If I can get the core to ignite, we can be halfway across the wastelands before they realize we're gone." Zara's breath came fast, her body trembling slightly. "The change, it's accelerating again." He pulled the injector from his pouch. "Hold still." The moment he pressed the stabilizer into her neck, her glow flared, brilliant and wild. Her eyes rolled back briefly, then refocused. "It's happening more often now," she said, dazed. "Like my body's racing towards something. I don't know how much longer I can keep this contained." "We just need enough time to get clear," Ronan said. "Then we figure out the rest." She met his eyes. "You don't have to stay." He leaned in, forehead against hers. "I already chose. I'm staying." And together they descended into the crater, unaware that what was awakening inside her would soon become the center of a galactic storm. The buried shuttle groaned as Ronan forced open the primary hatch. A wave of stale air escaped, dry, metallic, tinged with coolant and dust. The interior was dark, but mostly intact. Panels blinked dimly in standby mode, and the old propulsion indicators showed power potential, if barely. "This thing's ancient," Ronan muttered, sweeping his wrist light over the cockpit. "But if we can coax a launch out of it, we might just make it." Zara stood just behind him, leaning on the frame of the doorway. Her legs quivered under her, but she refused to sit. "I can help," she said quietly. Ronan turned, concern flashing across his face. "You should rest." She stepped forward, one shaky foot at a time. "I don't want to be a passenger." "Not anymore." Ronan hesitated, then gave a short nod. "All right. Co-pilot's seat still works. You can monitor stabilizer output and scan for air pockets in the ridge path. If we hit a sinkhole at launch speed, we'll bury ourselves before the ship takes off." Zara climbed into the seat with effort but managed it without his help. Her glowing patterns had intensified since their escape, tracing brighter along her throat, shoulders, and down her forearms like a constellation etched beneath her skin. It wasn't just beautiful, it was alarming. As Ronan powered up the auxiliary systems, Zara winced and pressed a hand to her stomach. "What is it?" he asked, stopping mid-sequence. "I don't know," she breathed. "It's not pain exactly. More like heat. Deep. Moving through me. Like something's awakening." The diagnostic screen flickered, pulling his attention. Her biometrics had spiked: heart rate, core temperature, neural activity, all registering just shy of critical. "We need to get you somewhere safer," he said. "Somewhere with real equipment." Zara's hands tightened on the edge of the console. "No. We do this now." Ronan didn't argue. He diverted auxiliary power to the core drive, fingers flying over the console. "We've got just enough juice for a single short jump. We'll aim for the cliff pass northeast, get into the canyon zone. It's outside the clan's search grid and should shield us from orbital scans." A low whine began building as the shuttle systems reawakened. Lights surged to full intensity. The entire vessel shuddered beneath them. "Pressure stabilizing," Zara reported, her voice steadier now. "Atmospheric lock is solid. We're good to go." "Then buckle up," Ronan said. "We're flying blind." The ground beneath them trembled as the shuttle's old vertical thrusters engaged. A roar echoed across the crater, a storm of dust and sand spiraling into the air. The buried ship clawed its way free of the earth like a beast remembering its purpose. As they ascended, Zara's breathing grew shallow. Her glow flared so brightly it lit the entire cockpit in a soft, blue radiance. "Something's happening," she gasped. "Inside me, deeper than before." Ronan turned toward her. "Hold on, Zara. Just a little longer." Her body tensed, back arching slightly against the harness. Light spilled from her skin in rhythmic pulses, and when Ronan touched her hand, he felt it again, that electric connection. Only now it was stronger, sharper. His nerves flared in response, like their very biology was sinking at an even deeper level. "I see it," she whispered suddenly, her voice distant. "A map not of space, of us. It's inside. A connection." "What kind of connection?" She turned her head slowly, eyes glowing silver white. "Bonding. Permanent. Your body is changing too. It's accepting mine." His heart pounded, but he didn't let go of her hand. "I'm not afraid," he said. "You should be," she whispered. "Because once this completes, we'll never be the same again." The shuttle pierced the upper thermals, fleeing the grasp of their pursuers below. But what neither of them knew was that they weren't just fleeing danger. They were becoming something new. The shuttle streaked low across the barren landscape, skimming just above jagged ridges and dunes as the sun dipped below the cauldrous horizon. In the distance, a series of broken mesas and deep gorges loomed, a natural labyrinth known only to smugglers, fugitives, and desert predators. Ronan angled the ship toward the largest of the formations, where cliffs opened into a shadowy ravine known locally as the Canyon of Echoes. "Prepare for descent," he said over the roar of the engines, gripping the controls tighter. "Landing thrusters aren't calibrated. We'll hit rough." Zara nodded, though her body swayed visibly from the strain of the transformation still rolling through her. Her glow had dimmed, flickering more now than pulsing, like a fire trying to hold against wind. She looked down at her hands, watching the traceries of light twist inwards toward her chest. "Your vitals are spiking again," Ronan said, glancing at the biodisplay above her. "Hold on, we're almost through." The shuttle shook violently as it entered the ravine. Walls of stone rose on either side, the ship's lights illuminating ancient markings etched into the rock. Wind howled through narrow crevices, bouncing back their engine sounds in eerie mimicry, whispers and echoes in a dozen languages long dead. With a heavy jolt, the shuttle dropped into a natural overhang near the canyon floor, skidding to a halt with sparks flying across the hull. Silence fell, broken only by the ticking of cooling metal. Ronan exhaled and turned to Zara. "We made it." But Zara was trembling, hunched forward in her seat, hands pressed to her chest. "It's too much," she whispered. "Something is building inside me. I can feel everything. You. The canyon. The air. Every vibration." Ronan was at her side in an instant, unfastening her harness and easing her down into the cargo area where an old mat and storage crates offered makeshift bedding. She was burning up, her skin almost too hot to touch. "You're not alone," he said, grabbing the stabilizer injector. "Just hold on." Before he could administer the shot, she reached up and stopped him. "Wait." Her eyes locked on his. "If we suppress it now, we may lose what's happening. I need to know what this is, what I'm becoming." "You're hurting," Ronan said. "If it gets worse, then let it," she said. "Let me feel all of it." He hesitated, then knelt beside her. "Then I'm staying with you. Through all of it." Zara reached up, her fingers curling around his neck, pulling him closer. The glow between them intensified, the air charged with static, and again he felt it, his heartbeat syncing with hers, his skin tingling where it met hers. Her patterns brightened with every breath, not just reacting to pain but to him. "It's not just biology," she whispered. "It's not just nerves. This is something older, deeper. My people feared this connection because they couldn't control it. But we've awakened it." Ronan pressed his forehead to hers, breath steady despite the electricity crackling between them. "Then whatever it is," he said, "we face it together." Her body arched again, not from agony now, but from release. The transformation crested like a tidal wave, surging through her as the glowing traceries burst into full illumination. The patterns locked into place, no longer flickering, no longer wild. Instead, they pulsed with perfect rhythm, in time with Ronan's touch. When it was over, she collapsed into him, breathing hard but calm. Her skin still glowed, but now it was stable. Controlled. And her voice was clear when she spoke. "I can feel you inside me now. Like our systems are no longer separate." Ronan didn't speak. He simply pulled her closer, holding her in the silence of the canyon. Outside, the wind howled through the ancient stone, but inside that small forgotten shuttle, something new had taken root, two beings now fused by fate and fire. Morning came slowly to the Canyon of Echoes. Pale light slid across the jagged cliffs, revealing deep scars in the stone where centuries of wind and heat had carved their mark. The shuttle lay dormant beneath its overhang, cloaked in shadow, hidden from the skies. Inside, Zara stirred first. Her body felt different, lighter, steadier. For the first time in what felt like forever, there was no pain. Her legs ached, yes, but it was the ache of muscles waking up, not nerves breaking down. When she sat up, she realized she had done so without needing support. Ronan was already awake, sitting cross-legged near the rear hatch with a rifle balanced across his lap, eyes scanning the canyon beyond. "You're up," he said, his voice rough with fatigue. "I'm better," she answered, surprised to hear the truth in her own words. He stood and crossed to her. "How better?" She slowly shifted her weight forward, placed her feet on the metal floor, and rose to stand, unaided. Ronan blinked, stunned. You're walking. Zara took a step. Then another. Her stride was stiff, uneven, but hers. The glow beneath her skin had softened into steady bands that ran along her arms, legs, and neck, like circuitry fused with flesh. I'm more than walking, she said. I'm changing. Ronan stared at her a moment longer, then let out a soft breath. You're incredible. Their moment was interrupted by a faint sound, a crunch of loose stone in the distance. They both froze. Ronan's rifle snapped up. Zara moved to the side, crouching near the door. Her hand brushed the side of the console as she whispered, Someone's here. Through a narrow slit in the rock, they saw movement, 3 figures moving cautiously through the canyon. Tall, cloaked, each with a gait that screamed of military training. They moved in formation, covering angles, rifles low but ready. Trackers, Ronan said. Not TRC. Clan Varen by the armor patterns. They've followed the resonance, Zara said. They can sense what's changed in me. Ronan tapped a command into the shuttle's interface, activating a silent broadcast jammer. They won't call in backup from here. We're on our own. Then we run. He turned to her. You're just learning to walk again. I can run, she said fiercely. If we stay, they'll breach this place. If we move now, we have the canyon's maze. Ronan paused. Then nodded. Within minutes, they were out the rear hatch and descending into a narrow fissure behind the ridge. The path was steep, cluttered with loose rock and roots, but Zara moved with surprising control. Every footstep brought more confidence, more harmony with her altered body. The changes inside her had sharpened everything: balance, hearing, even the way she sensed the air's currents brushing her skin. She wasn't just recovering. She was evolving. As they ran, the canyon grew narrower, darker. High walls blocked sunlight, and wind screamed through the crevices like ancient ghosts. Their footsteps echoed back at them, but Zara stopped suddenly, holding out a hand. 3 behind, she whispered. 2 more ahead. They've split and are hurting us. Ronan swore. They're good. Too good. They've trained for this. For capturing ascendants. Ronan's eyes flicked to her glowing arms. Then it's time to fight like one. Zara gave a grim smile. Let them try. Together, they slipped into the shadows of a narrow cleft in the stone, waiting, hearts pounding, as footsteps approached from both directions. And for the first time since her transformation began, Zara felt something she hadn't in a long time. Power. The narrow cleft where they waited was no wider than Ronan's shoulders. Jagged stone rose on both sides, casting the passage in deep shadow. It was a natural choke point, good for hiding, better for ambushing. Ronan crouched just behind a protruding outcrop, rifle steady, finger poised on the trigger. Zara knelt beside him, her breathing even, eyes glowing faintly beneath her hood. They're getting closer, she whispered. I can feel their motion in the stone. Ronan gave her a quick glance. That normal? Zara tilted her head slightly. It is now. Footsteps echoed around the bend, fast, but measured. Ronan counted them by sound. 2, maybe 3. They were closing in from the west side of the canyon. Soon, she murmured. Get ready. Ronan shifted his stance. His heart beat in sync with the soft vibrations of Zara's luminescent patterns. Every pulse of her skin matched his own heartbeat like they were linked by an invisible thread. Then came a new sound, stones scraping. One of the trackers was climbing the wall behind them. Ronan didn't hesitate. He spun, firing once. A flash of light lit the canyon wall as the cloaked figure toppled with a grunt, tumbling down the rocks. No, Zara said, and burst from the shadows like a striking serpent. Ronan followed close behind, suppressing fire toward the second attacker. The figure tried to dodge left, but Zara was already there, her hand glowing white-hot as she slammed her palm into his chest. A shockwave exploded outward, hurling the man backward into the canyon wall. He didn't move again. Ronan blinked. What was that? I don't know, Zara panted, staggering back a step. Reflex. The third attacker raised a weapon, shouting in a harsh dialect, but Ronan was faster. A single shot struck him in the shoulder, sending the weapon spinning away. The man dropped with a cry, clutching his wound. Silence followed. Only 3 bodies lay in the dust, none dead, but all incapacitated. Zara's hands trembled as she looked down at her glowing palms. It's spreading, she said. The light, it's not just under my skin anymore. It's in me. Changing how I move. How I strike. Ronan lowered his rifle slowly. You said ascendants were rare. Extremely. And even among them, what I just did, that isn't common. He stepped toward her, studying her carefully. What does that mean? Zara looked up, and for a moment, there was fear behind her silver eyes. It means I'm not just bonded, Ronan. I'm becoming something my people tried to manufacture but couldn't control. They'll come harder next time. We'll be ready, he said. No, she replied, voice tightening. We need to stop running. Ronan met her gaze, searching for doubt, but there was none. You want to fight them head on? Zara nodded. Not for me. For everyone they've discarded. If we keep running, they'll find others like me. Or worse, try to make more. Ronan considered that a long moment before finally nodding. Then we take the fight to them. They moved quickly through the canyon, following an ancient smuggler's trail Zara remembered from her childhood travels. As they passed into a clearing nestled between high stone cliffs, she stopped abruptly and turned toward Ronan. There's something I haven't told you, she said. Ronan raised a brow. More surprises? Zara touched her chest, where the glow now pulsed with a heartbeat of its own. My family was part of the sanctum once. My bloodline traces back to the original ascendant. I wasn't just a worker in the mines, I was born from one of the clans that engineered the ascension. You were royalty? Ronan asked. No, she said. I was a threat. The revelation hung in the air like smoke. Ronan didn't flinch. Then it's time they realized the threat is still alive. Zara's smile was faint but fierce. And she's not alone anymore. They continued deeper into the canyon toward the only place where a stand could be made, an ancient relay tower built centuries ago into the rock. Forgotten by most, still functional in part. A beacon. A warning. They would light it. And the galaxy would hear them. The ancient relay tower loomed before them like a monument carved by gods and abandoned by time. It rose from the canyon wall itself, built directly into the rock with architecture older than the war that fractured Zara's people. Cracked stone steps led to an arched entrance choked with vines and dust. Yet still, the structure pulsed faintly with residual energy. Deep within, some of its systems still lived. Ronan ran a hand along the outer panel as they approached. This thing predates even TRC mapping. How do you know about it? My father brought me here once, Zara said, gazing up at the stone. He believed in the old ways. Said the tower was a fail-safe in case the clans ever turned against each other. A place to send a signal strong enough to reach the stars. Why would they hide something like this? Because they were afraid of what it might say, she murmured. And who might answer? They entered through the half-sealed arch, their footsteps echoing in the hollow stone corridor. Shafts of golden sunlight filtered through cracked ceiling slats, revealing glyphs carved along the walls. Zara reached out, tracing one of them with glowing fingers. These symbols, they're the old tongue, she said. Pre-ascension. My ancestors called this place Valinar, the mouth of the Starborn. And it still works? Part of it, she said. Enough. The central chamber was domed, with a single stone pedestal rising in the middle. Around it, rusted panels and dormant control interfaces lined the walls, long silent. But as Zara stepped forward, the light beneath her skin pulsed in recognition, and the pedestal lit up. Ronan raised a brow. That's new. It's responding to my change, she whispered. It knows I'm bonded. It remembers. Symbols ignited along the base of the pedestal, spinning into a soft holographic projection. Star maps, DNA structures, A flickering log of stored broadcasts, most centuries old. Zara scanned the options and selected the communications relay. The display shifted to show a targeting interface and an input field. I can send a pulse, she said. Encrypted. Across TRC and Navari sectors. If anyone is listening, especially those who've bonded like I have, they'll hear it. Ronan moved to her side. And if the clans intercept it? They'll know we're not hiding anymore. Ronan nodded slowly. Then do it. Zara reached toward the pedestal, but hesitated. Her hand hovered over the input field, her glow pulsing. I need your hand too, she said. It won't activate without the bond being confirmed on both sides. Ronan didn't even blink. He slid his hand beside hers, and the moment their skin touched, the pedestal surged with light. A rush of warmth swept through the chamber, and the stone itself seemed to vibrate with ancient memory. The system accepted them, not as enemies or strangers, but as a matched pair. The signal launched. A pulse of light exploded skyward from the tower's peak, invisible to the naked eye but detectable across half the quadrant. The message it carried was simple, but unmistakable: Ascension survived. The bond lives. For a moment, the world was still. Then Zara sank to her knees. Zara! Ronan knelt beside her, catching her before she fell. What's happening? Her breath came in short, shallow bursts. The bond, activating something new, deeper. Ronan placed a hand on her chest. Her heart was racing, but there was no fear in her expression. Only awe. I can feel them, she whispered. Others waking up. Across the system. It's like a net was pulled away and suddenly we're all aware of each other. Ronan helped her sit back against the wall as the chamber slowly dimmed. You did it. No, she said, her voice stronger now. We did. But far above them, in orbit beyond Caldris, ships were already changing course, some drawn by the signal's promise, others by its threat. And not all of them came in peace. High above the planet Caldris, nestled in the calm between its twin moons, a stealth-class cruiser emerged from dark space. It bore no official insignia, no registry on record. Matte black hull quiet engines, and a signal suppression system that made it nearly invisible to scanners. But even this ship, designed to hunt ghosts, had picked up the pulse. Deep within the vessel's command chamber, Overseer Keln of Clan Varen stood before a triangular projection, his eyes locked on the pulsing echo of Zara's transmission. Her message, though encrypted, carried an unmistakable signature, ascendant resonance. A confirmed bonding. And worse spread. They've activated the old net, said a tech officer. Dozens of dormant beacons just lit up. Some we thought destroyed. Not destroyed, Keln murmured. Just waiting. Watching. And now? Now they call back. He turned slowly toward the helm. Dispatch 2 hunter units. Stealth drop. Full capture directive. The Ascendant is alive, and the host is Terran. That makes this both a recovery mission and a political threat. And if she resists? Keln's eyes narrowed. Then we make an example of her. Back on Caldris, the ancient relay tower's chamber remained quiet. Zara slept, curled beside Ronan under the dim light of a flickering projection. Her breathing had slowed, the strain of the signal subsiding, though her body still shimmered faintly beneath the surface. Ronan sat close, watching over her, alert. He knew the signal had changed everything. Zara had become more than a survivor now. She was a symbol. And symbols, he knew from war, were the first things powerful people tried to erase. He tapped the side of his communicator. Kale. You there? The doctor's voice came through faint and garbled. Just barely. You kicked a hive with that pulse. Do you have any idea how far that thing reached? Far enough. TRC picked it up, but they're not the only ones. I've intercepted 2 clan ships rerouting to Caldris. Fast and quiet. You've got company inbound. Ronan's jaw tightened. ETA? 6 hours, maybe less. He looked toward Zara, who stirred now, her silver eyes slowly opening. Then we move before they land. Zara sat up slowly, wincing, but with strength returning to her limbs. They're coming for me. No, Ronan said. They're coming for what you represent. She stood, the glow beneath her skin steady. Then let's make sure they remember what that feels like. As they exited the tower into the warming canyon morning, a faint tremor ran through Zara's legs, not from fatigue, but from the pulse of life she now felt beneath the planet's surface. Everything connected. Everything aware. And somewhere out there, others were waking too. What do we do now? She asked. Ronan checked his rifle. We lead. She turned toward him, hand finding his. Then lead with me. They made their way toward the edge of the canyon, where a rising cliff gave view to the plains beyond. In the sky, a glint of incoming craft shimmered in the upper atmosphere. Zara squeezed his hand. We may not survive this. We don't have to, Ronan said. We just have to light the way for the next ones. And above them, unseen to the eye but felt in the marrow of those connected to the old bloodlines, a network of energy stirred, silent no more. The sky over Cauldres split with twin streaks of burning blue as the hunter vessels pierced the upper atmosphere. Silent to most sensors, their drop trajectory mimicked meteorites, fast, precise, lethal. Each carried a squad of 6 elite retrieval agents, genetically enhanced and bound by creed to recover ascendance at any cost. Below, in the canyons near the relay tower, Ronan watched the trails arc downward with grim focus. His visor tracked their descent speed and impact vector. They'll land within 30 minutes, he muttered, fingers tightening around his rifle. Zara stood beside him on the cliff's edge, her violet ochre skin bathed in sunlight, the light beneath glowing stronger with every heartbeat. Her patterns now extended across her shoulders and down her back, like wings made of living starlight. They'll strike fast, she said, her voice calm but intense. They don't negotiate. Good, Ronan replied. Neither do I. She looked at him, a strange glint in her eyes. You sound like one of us. He didn't smile. Maybe I am. They returned to the relay tower, transforming the ancient ruin into a defensive hold. Ronan set up motion mines near the choke points. Zara worked the remaining console, adjusting the broadcast net to scramble scans and jam clan frequencies. Together, they reinforced the stone doors and created fallback points, short bursts of cover, retreat routes, and sight lines optimized for their chances. Ronan passed her a pulse pistol. Ever fired one of these? Zara took it, the weapon humming softly as it recognized her touch. No. Point, breathe, don't hesitate. She nodded. If I fall. You won't. But if I do, she continued, eyes searching his. Promise you'll finish this. Ronan hesitated only a moment, then said, Only if you make me. Moments later, a deep rumble echoed through the canyon floor. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Zara closed her eyes. They've landed. Ronan slung his rifle over his shoulder. Then let's show them what happens when they chase ghosts into a place built by giants. They took position near the central chamber as the first hunter squad breached the outer passage. No warning. No attempt at contact. These weren't diplomats. They were erasers. 3 entered, cloaked in reactive armor, eyes glowing beneath their helmets. The leader raised a scanner, then stopped cold. The patterns on Zara's skin triggered a reaction. His visor flickered, recalibrating. Ascendant confirmed, the voice said in a low mechanical tone. Authorization level red. Zara stepped forward. I am not your subject. I am not your prize. And I will not go back. The leader raised his weapon. Ronan moved faster. His shot struck first, center mass. The hunter's shields absorbed it, but it staggered him long enough for Zara to leap into motion. She wasn't fast by human standards, but whatever was flowing through her now let her move with unnatural grace. She dropped low, sweeping the second hunter's legs from under him, then discharged her pulse pistol point blank into his visor. The third fired, but Zara's glow flared with a sudden pulse. The bolt curved midair, grazing her shoulder instead of striking her heart. What the hell was that? Ronan shouted. I don't know, she said, breathless. But I felt where he was aiming, before he did. The remaining two fell back to regroup. But not before Ronan hurled a proximity charge, detonating it in their path and cutting off their retreat. The chamber fell still. Smoke. Blood. The hum of flickering consoles. Ronan moved to Zara's side. Her breathing was ragged, but she was still standing. That's one squad, he said. They won't stop, she replied. Then neither do we. Zara looked to the high window where sunlight poured through, streaking the room in gold. We make our stand here. And outside, dust rose in the distance as the second drop ship approached. The ground trembled again, this time more violently. Dust poured from cracks in the ancient walls of the relay tower as the second hunter vessel landed somewhere beyond the ridge. The echoes of its landing gear locking into place sounded like drums of war, distant but drawing closer with every breath. Inside the command chamber, Zara limped toward the central pedestal, one hand pressed to her side where the grazed energy bolt had scorched her skin. The pain slowed her, but it didn't weaken her. The glow beneath her skin was brighter now, stabilized into patterns that pulsed with every beat of her heart. Ronan stood nearby, reloading his rifle, eyes scanning the doorway like a sentry awaiting the second wave. That arm still working? He asked, nodding to the pistol holstered at her hip. Zara gave a faint smirk. I'm not done yet. Ronan stepped toward her and gently touched her side. That shot, are you sure you're all right? She flinched at his touch, not from pain, but from the intensity of it. The burn's nothing. But the resonance. It's changing you again? It's deepening, she whispered. I feel like I'm expanding inside, like there's more of me than my body can hold. And not just me, you too. He frowned. What do you mean? I feel you. Not just beside me. Inside me. Your heartbeat, your breath. The bond is sinking more than nerves now. It's harmonizing our consciousness. Ronan's voice dropped. Is that dangerous? Zara met his eyes. If I die, you may feel it happen. Before he could respond, the chamber's alert system, reawakened by Zara's earlier signal, flared red. Perimeter breach. Multiple signals. 10, maybe 12. They've brought a full squad this time, Ronan said. Not just retrieval. Suppression. Zara turned, steady despite her injury. Then we fight harder. The clash began in the canyon outside. Explosions echoed through the valley, their light flickering across the crumbling carvings of the tower's outer walls. Zara and Ronan moved as one, their bond now so strong they anticipated each other's motions. He fired covering rounds from the western balcony, forcing the advancing hunters into cover, while Zara surged forward with her pulse pistol, her movement enhanced by her growing control over her body's strange energy. Two hunters stormed through the archway, both towering figures clad in obsidian armor. Zara met the first with a shot to the helmet, then spun as the second fired. But Ronan was already there, slamming his rifle butt into the attacker's visor and discharging a stun round at point-blank range. The hunter fell hard. 3 more incoming! He shouted. Zara raised her hands, and her skin flared blindingly bright, too bright. The air shimmered, and for a second the attackers stopped cold, their visors scrambling to compensate. I don't know how I did that, she gasped. Do it again. She reached deeper, and the chamber responded. The floor hummed. The old circuitry beneath the stone awakened. Glyphs long dormant burned to life around her feet. Her glow matched them, pulse for pulse. The tower recognized her as its heir. Zara, Ronan said urgently. You're syncing with the architecture. I can feel it, she said, voice trembling. I can feel the whole canyon. Then her glow turned harsh. Too fast. Her knees buckled, and Ronan was there before she hit the ground. He cradled her, her skin burning beneath his fingers, her eyes wide with light. Zara! Stay with me! I can't stop it, she whispered. There's too much. It's like I'm not just me anymore. I'm everyone who ever bonded. Every echo, every signal, they're in me. Her body convulsed once, then stilled, and for a moment Ronan felt her pulse disappear. No, he breathed, gripping her tighter. No, 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 come back. But the light returned, slowly, then steadily. Her chest rose. Her eyes fluttered open. I'm still here, she whispered, voice faint. Then she smiled. I think I just touched the minds of every bonded across the sector. Outside, the remaining hunters began retreating. The light surging from the tower had triggered every ancient ascendant beacon still active. A new network was waking. One that didn't answer to clans or armies, but to Zara. And she wasn't done yet. The retreat of the hunter squad was not silent. Their comms, encrypted though they were, crackled briefly across open channels as they pulled back into the far side of the canyon. The signal was distorted, panicked, and filled with confusion. Unsanctioned ascendant, power levels unstable, fall back, fall back. Ronan listened from the tower's southern overlook, rifle still hot in his hands. The smoke of the brief battle clung to the wind, curling between the high stones like ghosts reluctant to leave. He looked back at Zara, who now stood beneath the glowing glyphs etched into the tower's inner ring. Her body was steadier now. The uncontrolled pulses of light had softened into radiant flows beneath her skin, like rivers glowing under a thin veil of flesh. She no longer looked injured. She didn't even look tired. She looked like something reborn. You're glowing again, Ronan said, stepping toward her. I never stopped, Zara replied, her voice rich with resonance. The tower, the signal, they didn't just wake something in me, they opened a link. I can still feel the others. Dozens. Maybe more. Across the sector? Across the void, she whispered. I touched a mind on the far side of the Nabari rift. Another ascendant. He's bonded with someone from the Phylaxian colonies. They were hiding. Now, they're not alone anymore. Ronan stared at her, the magnitude of what she said settling slowly into his chest. You created a network, he said. Not just a signal. A consciousness. Zara nodded. It's growing. Every moment I stay connected, it spreads. And not just through bloodlines. Through bonds. Across species, cultures, every connection built from choice, not control. But that means they'll come harder now, she finished. The clans. The governments. The ones who fear what they can't control. They'll see this as revolution. Ronan reached out and took her hand. Then maybe it is, he said. And maybe that's not a bad thing. The tower's systems chimed. A new signal. Not one of Zara's making. Kale's voice crackled through the old relay panel. Zara. Ronan. I hope to hell you're still alive. Ronan crossed the room, flipping switches and boosting the gain. We're here. We held the tower. Just barely. Kale sounded breathless. I've got news. You're not going to like it. Ronan's stomach dropped. What is it? The Veyron Council just issued a sector-wide bounty on Zara's head. And yours. Zara stepped forward calm. Expected. Also, Kale continued, they've labeled the Ascendant bond an existential contamination. They're trying to frame it as a disease. Something that needs to be purged. Ronan cursed under his breath. They're scared. They should be, Zara said. Because it's not a disease. It's evolution. Kale's voice lowered. You don't have much time. They've scrambled more hunter units. But listen, there's something else. Your signal, it reached beyond the sector. It was picked up by the Concord, and one of the diplomatic corps from Earth's interspecies alliance. Ronan blinked. Earth knows? Not just Earth, Kale said. A response was logged. They're sending envoys. Zara and Ronan exchanged a glance. When? She asked. 72 hours. They'll arrive on Caldrus with a diplomatic escort. That's not long, Ronan said. No, Zara replied. But long enough to prepare. Outside the tower, the canyon was still once more. But change, unstoppable, irreversible, was moving like fire through dry fields. Zara was no longer alone. And the galaxy had just felt her pulse. Cauldress never slept. Even in the deepest parts of night, the wind whispered between the canyon stones like it carried secrets from the stars. Zara stood at the tower's highest ledge, overlooking the valley below, her skin casting a faint silver glow that rippled down her arms like moonlight in motion. Below her, Ronan worked by the fire pit he had dug into the stone courtyard, half for warmth, half for signal masking. He was surrounded by salvaged equipment, an old transmitter array, and a rapidly growing pile of fusion cell cores. Between setting perimeter charges and rerouting power nodes, he glanced up every so often. She always looked like she was about to fly. "You're thinking too hard," he called up to her. Zara didn't move. "I can hear them." The others. Not clearly, but like distant voices echoing through the bond. Ronan stood and dusted his hands. "You sure that's a good thing?" "I don't know," she said. "But they're waking up. Like I did. Some are scared. Others, angry." Ronan climbed to join her, his boots scraping against the stone steps. "You lit a fire, Zara. People tend to panic when they see smoke in places they thought were already dead." She turned toward him. "That's not all. One of the minds I touched, she's on Varen. Still inside their sanctum. They're experimenting on her. Trying to induce the bond through forced trauma." Ronan's jaw clenched. "They want more like you. But they don't want you. They want control," Zara said. "Not connection. And when they fail, they discard the evidence. Like they tried to discard me." Ronan's hand found hers. "We change that. Here. Now." She exhaled slowly, gripping his fingers tighter. "When the envoys arrive, they'll expect something organized. Negotiations. Evidence. Strategy. We give them that. And more," Ronan replied. "Proof. Witnesses. The truth." Zara stepped closer, her forehead resting lightly against his. "And if they come for us before then? Then we hold the line." The next morning came with a crack of thunder across a clear sky. Atmospheric disturbance, artificial. Ronan recognized the sound instantly. "They're dropping something." He sprinted up to the outer ridge and raised the binocular lens from one of the scavenged scouts. A sleek gunship broke through the clouds, Varen design, smaller than a troop carrier but fast. It banked low, making no effort to hide its approach. "They're not here to capture," he said grimly. "That's a surgical vessel." Zara appeared beside him, eyes glowing brighter than ever. "An execution order. They're desperate now. They should be." Ronan watched the gunship descend toward the canyon, activating its stabilizers as it prepared to launch a drone strike. "I have a plan," Zara said suddenly, her voice calm. Ronan raised a brow. "That's my line. This one's different," she said. "The tower has a failsafe, old code, embedded deep. If we trigger it, it won't just send a warning. It will ignite the ascendant net. All connected minds, all bonds, will feel it." Ronan looked uncertain. "That kind of signal, it could kill you. It could save thousands." She didn't wait for approval. She turned and descended into the heart of the tower where ancient roots of tech still pulsed under the stone, whispering songs of a time before politics, before fear. He followed her, but he knew she was already too far ahead, on a path only she could walk. The gunship hovered outside the tower now, its cannons glowing hot with charge. Ronan activated the defenses, his voice raw with determination. "Come on, you bastards! Try it!" Inside, Zara placed her hand against the core. A final thought flashed through her mind, not of war or fear, but of him. And of every soul who had been broken and buried under silence. Not anymore. With a breath, she activated the failsafe. The instant Zara's hand made contact with the ancient failsafe core, a tremor ran through the tower, not seismic, but something deeper, like the very stone remembered what it was built for. The glyphs along the chamber walls erupted with light, cascading upward into a spiraling vortex that reached the central spire. It was as if the tower had drawn breath for the first time in centuries. Outside, the Varen gunship detected the surge. Massive energy spike! One of the pilots barked through the comms. Unknown frequency, non-standard tech. Preparing to fire. But it was too late. The pulse launched. Not a beam. Not a weapon. But a resonance. A wave of invisible force burst outward in every direction, undetectable by conventional instruments, but felt by every bonded pair across the sector. Humans and aliens who had once thought their connection was coincidence now heard a voice inside them, not in words, but in sensation. Unity. Resistance. Rebirth. Some gasped aloud. Others collapsed weeping. And some, like Zara, stood tall in the center of the storm, transformed. In orbit above Caldris, the inbound diplomatic vessel registered the pulse with confusion and awe. The lead envoy, a tall woman with obsidian skin and glowing blue implants, felt the shift in her core. Message received, she whispered. Back on the ground, the gunship faltered. The stabilizers lost synchronization. The ship dipped dangerously close to the ridge. Inside, Ronan watched the sky shake with trembling light, auroras that hadn't been there moments ago streaking across the upper atmosphere. Zara! He called, sprinting back down into the tower's heart. He found her collapsed before the pedestal, her skin glowing as if her blood had become starlight. Her chest rose and fell in slow, even rhythm, but her eyes were closed. Hey! Ronan knelt beside her, lifting her gently. Talk to me. Her lips moved, barely audible. It's done. You did it, he whispered, pressing his forehead to hers. But don't you dare leave me now. She stirred weakly. I'm not gone. I'm everywhere. The glyphs dimmed, returning to a calm glow. The resonance faded from the tower but rippled out into the stars, leaving an imprint in the minds it had touched. Above them, the gunship suddenly veered off course. Its systems scrambled, targeting arrays misaligned. The pilot fought to compensate, but the ship slammed into the far ridge and exploded in a bloom of fire and rock. Ronan held Zara close as the rumble echoed through the canyon. She blinked slowly, eyes focusing on him. You stayed, she said softly. Always. You felt it, didn't you? She asked. The net. All those lives, connected by something real. I did, he said. And if you ever do that again, maybe give me a little warning. She smiled faintly. You'd still follow me. Every time. Outside, smoke drifted skyward, but the air had changed. Something had been released into the galaxy. Not a weapon, not a leader, not a god. A truth. Zara was no longer a fugitive. She was a beacon. And the world was watching. 3 days passed. The canyons of Caldris, once hollow with silence and the weight of forgotten stone, now buzzed with movement and cautious hope. Temporary camps had sprung up near the relay tower. Shuttles, drop craft, and hover skiffs dotted the ridges above, their banners neutral, no clan insignias, no military markings. They belonged to no one, and to everyone. They came in response to the pulse. The newly bonded. The newly awakened. Those who had felt Zara's call. Not with their ears, but through the threads of connection woven into their bodies, their emotions, their identities. Across dozens of systems, the pulse had been their sign. And they followed it here. Ronan stood near the perimeter, overlooking the base of the canyon, his rifle slung across his shoulder but powered down for once. He watched a Phylaxian couple descend the ramp of a scout skimmer. 2 beings from rival colonies, skin still faintly glowing with the first signs of resonance. Another pair followed behind them, a human researcher and a 6-limbed Arkan refugee, walking side by side, fingers interlaced. Every hour more show up, Ronan murmured. You sure you're up for this? Zara approached from behind, her steps firm now, no hesitation in her gait. She wore a dark, sleeveless coat tailored from scavenged materials and emergency fabrics, her arms bare and pulsing with soft luminescent patterns that changed subtly with her emotions. I have to be, she said, stopping beside him. They need more than inspiration. They need direction. You're not a symbol to them anymore, Ronan said quietly. You're becoming a leader. She didn't smile. I never wanted to be. But they trust you. They trust us, she corrected. They turned together as a low hum filled the air, the Concorde diplomatic vessel descending slowly from orbit. Its hull shimmered with iridescent plating, wide wings curved for atmospheric maneuvering. Its arrival had been coordinated through a private channel opened by Dr. Kale, who now waited nervously near the tower entrance with a datapad clutched to his chest and at least 5 diplomats trying to get his attention. The ship landed smoothly near the base of the canyon. A ramp extended, and from within emerged the delegation. The lead envoy was tall, graceful, and unmistakably alien, her hair made of trailing filaments that shimmered like fiber optics, her skin iridescent green. She walked beside a human official wearing the black uniform of the Terran Galactic Council. Behind them came 2 more, a feline humanoid with golden eyes, and a cyborg whose entire spine glowed with ascendant patterns. Ronan leaned in toward Zara. Well, they didn't send small fry. The envoy stopped a few paces from them. Her gaze lingered on Zara's arms, then on Ronan's face, and finally back to Zara's steady silver eyes. I am Envoy Rallis of the Concorde Assembly, she said. We received your signal. And we've heard what the Varen Council is saying about you. Then you know they're afraid, Zara replied evenly. Rallis nodded. Yes. Because fear is what power feels when it meets something it can't control. The human delegate stepped forward next. I'm Director Finhero of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. And I've been authorized to offer you 2 things, political asylum, and an open platform to speak before the Concorde Assembly. Murmurs rippled through the gathered crowd. Why? Zara asked. Why offer me that? Because you didn't just broadcast a message, Harrow said. You reactivated a system buried for centuries, something thought extinct. You've proven that cross-species bonding isn't rare. It's just been suppressed. You've exposed the Varen deception. And that scares a lot of people, Rallis added. But not everyone wants to silence you. Some of us want to listen. Zara stood quiet for a long moment. Then, I'll speak. Ronan looked at her, surprised. You're sure? She nodded once. Because this isn't just about saving those who've bonded. It's about the ones who never got the chance. Her voice rang through the canyon, soft but unmistakable. They tried to bury us in silence. We'll answer with truth. And all around her, the newly bonded stood taller. They gathered under the open sky of Caldris, where the twin suns cast long golden beams across the canyon floor. A makeshift forum had formed, a circular arrangement of crates, stones, and portable chairs dragged from shuttles and supply ships. No flags flew above it. No clan banners. No military crests. Just people. More than 200 had arrived by the time the sun crested its peak. Not all were bonded, but all had felt the ripples Zara sent through the net. Some came because they wanted answers. Others because they were tired of hiding. And a few, because they feared what they might become. Zara stepped into the circle with Ronan at her side, and a hush fell over the assembly. She stood at the center, no amplification device, no podium. Only her voice, and the pulse of light beneath her skin. I wasn't born for this, she began, scanning the faces watching her. I was never trained to lead. I didn't ask for this bond. I didn't know what it was. All I knew was that when I was no longer useful, they discarded me. They left me to die. A stir of emotion rippled through the crowd. Heads bowed. Shoulders stiffened. They said I was broken. But I wasn't. I was changing. Becoming something they couldn't control, so they tried to erase me. But I survived. And in doing so, I woke up. The light beneath her skin flared in rhythm with her words. I'm not the only one. Some of you out there are already bonded. Some of you are beginning to feel it, the shift, the resonance, the echo that tells you you're not alone. Her eyes found the cyborg in the delegation, whose glowing spine pulsed in sync with her voice. This is not a disease. It's not a curse. It's not a mistake. It's evolution, guided by connection, not blood. Not status. Not government. She raised her hand, showing the glow, the patterns dancing across her palm. This bond changes us. It makes us vulnerable. But it also makes us more. It fuses what was divided. It unites where they tried to separate. She turned toward the diplomats watching silently. The clans will call us threats. The old governments will call us unstable. But we are not asking for permission to exist. We do. We are. A moment of stillness passed. Then she said softly, "We are the flame that spreads." And as if summoned by her words, dozens of hands across the crowd began to glow, faint at first, then brighter. Arms, faces, spines, fingertips, each reflecting the pattern of their bond. Some lit up in harmony. Others shimmered like stardust. Ronan stepped forward and took Zara's hand in his. "I'm a Terran soldier," he said. "I've seen a lot of people die because they were told they didn't belong. This is the first time I've seen someone belong so much it scared the stars." Scattered laughter. A few claps. Zara's fingers tightened around his. "I don't know what the future looks like," she said. "But I know we're going to build it ourselves. No more running. No more silence." The crowd began to rise. Anvarales stepped forward, voice calm but clear. "The Concord recognizes your right to exist. And we will fight with you if the clans declare war." Director Harrow added, "We'll offer sanctuary. And a platform. You're not hidden anymore. You're heard." And that day, deep in the heart of a forgotten canyon on a backwater planet, something shifted in the soul of the galaxy. Not through weapons. Not through blood. But through unity. Through bond. And in the months that followed, more would rise, like sparks caught on wind. The Ascendants had awakened. And Zara, once broken and discarded, became their first flame.